Assalamualaikum and a very good morning and to the respected lecturers and panelists. I am Hanin Zafirah binti Razali from PISMP TESL 1 June 2017 intake. Today I'm going to present my action research entitled The Use of Digital Book in Improving People's Year 3 Pupils Comprehension and Motivation in Reading. For the background of the study, firstly, the curriculum designed for English language for primary school comprises 5 modules which are listening, speaking, reading, writing, and language arts. The content standards outlined in the DSKP are given for reading skills are given the focus on people's ability to learn to read, to understand meaning, and to read independently for enjoyment. Therefore, pupils need to be able to acquire these abilities throughout the process of mastering reading skill. Next, the rapid evolution of digital technologies have influenced and changes in how people learn and interact, and consequently promoting new ways of thinking about the teaching and learning processes. What more during this pandemic, where almost everything goes online, including classes for school students and university students, thus the development of ICT has contributed to the changes to our current education system as well. Third one is, in this 21st century learning era, using digital book in second language classroom could be a powerful tool to engage people's interest toward the lesson. Digital book is rather interactive compared to traditional book, as it enables teachers to attach media such as video and audio. There are potential for pupils to be interested towards the lesson. Next, for the statement of problem, first one is, based on my previous experience during practicum, it has become my concern that some of the people were having serious problems in acquiring the reading comprehension skill. Some of the problems encountered by them were hesitation, mispronunciation, and inability to understand the meaning of the text. Next, according to Kilpatrick 2015, comprehension has been regarded as the obvious goal of reading, but there are still numbers of students who display a great deal of difficulty understanding what they read. Based on this statement, reading comprehension is not a new problem and is actually very common among young learners. Yet there are still many pupils are struggling with these problems. Next, the results of the reading comprehension for young children are greatly influenced by their motivation as well as attitude to reading in English. Civic 2019. Reading and comprehension and motivation are interrelated, whereby people's motivation will increase when they understand what they read, and vice versa. That's one. Reading has become the powerful catalyst which influence an individual intellectual's development. Both 2018 and for this reason, reading skill and the ability to acquire the skill need to be given serious attention. That's for the purpose of the study. This study aims to investigate to what extent the use of digital book able to help improving year 3 papers reading comprehension, and it also intended to figure out how the digital book can boost people's motivation to read more. Next, for the research objectives and research questions. The first research objective is to improve people's comprehension of the text read through the use of digital book, and to increase people's motivation in reading through the use of digital book. And for the research questions, first one is, does the use of digital book can improve people's comprehension of the text? And second one, does the use of digital book can increase people's motivation in reading? Next, for the significance of the study, there are 3 given significance here. The first one is, the findings of the study can be considered as a proof that digital book can be an effective tool in improving people's reading comprehension. From that, it can benefit primary school teachers who are in search of suitable teaching materials to teach reading in the classroom. There might be numbers of teachers out there who are still figuring out interesting ways and methods to teach reading in their classroom. Hence, this study could assist them in developing methods and materials that can improve people's understanding towards the text read. And the last one is, it can give benefit to other educators from other level as well, not only limited to primary school teachers who are teaching reading skill. This is because the digital book is customizable, so the educators or teachers can customize the book according to the needs of their students. Next, for the research design, this study employ an action research design, specifically using chemist and method model. It is a spiral model which encourages teachers to make decisions after going through comprehensive reflection. It consists of 4 fundamental steps, which are plan, act, observe, and reflect. Next, for the sample, this study involved 2 year 3 papers, 2 female year 3 papers. Their level of proficiency is average, where they can understand simple instruction and explanation given in English. However, they have difficulty in understanding when reading English materials due to lack of vocabulary and exposure. And lastly, in terms of their IT literacy, they were good at handling the digital devices. Hence, they did not encounter much problems in using such devices, although they still require guidance, specifically in using the digital book, since they were unfamiliar with the digital book. Next, for the research instrument, I have employed 3 research instruments. The first one is pre and post test. Pre-test is conducted before pupils use the intervention in order to monitor pupils' performance. Then a similar set of questions were distributed again after pupils had used the intervention. It is considered as post-test. Their scores for all the tests were recorded to monitor their progress throughout the process. Next instrument is interview questions. As for the type of interview, a semi-structured interview was chosen, which includes planned questions to guide the interviewing process, but the other questions may be added depending on the situations. The third instrument is observational checklist. For observation purpose, observational checklist was prepared beforehand to help tracking the intended behaviors. Next, for the research procedures, there are 8 procedures given here. First one is choose the research topic, which is about the digital book, and then address research problem, formulate research objectives and questions. Next, determine research approach, then develop action plan. This step include where we start to identify our participants and decide on the data collection method. Next, prepare instruments for data collection, and then start collect data, and then data analysis and interpretation, and finally start writing the research report. Next, for the data collection procedures, first one is prepare consent letter and obtain permission from the participants involved. Next, prepare all instruments for data collection purpose. Next, brief participants regarding the process involved. Next, pupils use the intervention and answer tests afterwards. Next, pupils will observe throughout the process, and finally they were interviewed after finish answering the test, and the interviews were recorded with the consent from the participants. Next, for the data analysis procedures, firstly, pupils' score for all the tests conducted were reviewed, and then transcribe pupils' response during interview. Next, scrutinize the observational checklist recorded, and then identifying pattern and themes based on the data collected, and then present the data analysis and interpretation, and finally record the findings and the discussion. Okay, for the research findings, this is the scores recorded for the pre-test, post-test, and post-test. So based on the scores recorded for both participants during pre and post-test, they had shown a desired improvement as they managed to score full marks for their third attempt in answering a similar set of questions. This had shown that the intervention used managed to assist pupils in improving their comprehension of the story, in which they were able to obtain better scores over multiple practices. Next, for the research findings, this is for the interview. Based on the participant responses, there were 3 themes analyzed, which are interest, comprehension, and improvisation. For interesting, participants were asked whether they enjoy the learning using the intervention, what are the features that they like. Then for the comprehension, people who are whether they understand and what are the features that help them to understand better. And for the improvisation, they will ask whether if there is anything that they dislike and wanted to be improved in the future. Okay, one of the participants justified that she could understand the story because there were visual images and videos included. Aside from that, they also expressed how they enjoy reading the digital book as it comes with such features which are not available through physical books. This had implied that the participants had shown their interest and desire in reading the digital book. Hence, it proved that the intervention helped to boost their motivation in reading. As for the motivation, the observational checklist recorded shown that participants portrayed good behavior and interest throughout the sessions, though they sometimes lack in attention and determination due to circumstances. Nevertheless, they managed to produce good outcomes with the use of the intervention. Okay, overall, based on the data collected and analyzed earlier, the participants show positive perception and improvement after using the intervention. They were interested in learning using the digital book as it consists more than just that compared to traditional physical book. Next, for the discussion, okay, first one is digital book able to improve people's motivation in reading. This is in line with a study conducted in 2018 on how e-books or digital books can motivate children's learning of English as a second language by Wang and Dosta in 2018. Okay, digital book can make abstract digital ideas seem more concrete to the learner. Okay, similarly, with regards to the current study, the videos of the occupation of the story were included in the digital book to help people understand how they actually work, aside from integrating fun elements to the learning. Next, the digital book increases people's reading comprehension. Okay, this is in line with a study conducted by Utut, Nur Sharifah, and Nurani in 2018 regarding the use of digital fairy tale book in teacher reading comprehension. The findings of the study indicated that students became more enthusiastic to learn and able to improve their comprehension and intonation in reading. And finally, the digital book is convenient to use. This is in tandem with a study entitled The Interactive Digital Textbook and Engagement, a Learning Strategies Framework by Bikowski and Kassel in 2018. The findings show that the participants were generally satisfied with the digital textbook. They support their preferences by stating that they have flexible reading experience, and it increased engagement and interest as well. And also, the digital books are convenient to use. Based on the current study, one of the participants claimed that how convenient it is for her that she could access the digital book using her smartphone. And that's for the conclusion. First one is digital book is an effective tool to improve people's comprehension as well as their motivation in reading. Next, when people understand what they learn, it will in turn boost their motivation to read and explore more reading materials. Okay, according to Ng, 2015, the use of education technologies for people's learning can increase their motivation and engagement in learning. People were able to gain better understanding of the lesson when they are given opportunities and support to be active learners by exploring the materials provided. Lastly, this study also highlights the importance of teachers to provide appropriate resources to meet the need of people. Next, for the recommendations, this study had given the focus on improving people's comprehension and motivation in reading, and slightly mentioned the factors that could influence people's reading comprehension. Therefore, it is recommended for future research to further elaborate and enlighten the possible factors that could influence people's reading comprehension, such as their interest in the learning, their prior knowledge of the particular topic, and their vocabulary range with larger sample size. The findings of the study can be very beneficial for teachers to cater the issue, as they could discover the causes that contribute to the occurrence of the issue. Lastly, next one is this study only used one type of text. Hence, it is recommended to further investigate the use of other type of text, such as literary text. and how it impacts people's understanding through the use of the digital book. Lastly, for the implications, first one is it can act as an encouragement for teachers to use digital book in their teaching practice, since there are vast platforms and websites available for education technology. Teachers can custom of the content of the digital book according to the needs of their pupils. Okay, for instance, they can design the digital book to teach reading, where they can attach the audio, video to reinforce the vocabulary learning process. Okay, the next one is it can inspire teachers to equip themselves and constantly upgrade their knowledge regarding education technology as we aspire to move toward innovative pedagogy in future. Okay, that's all from me. Thank you.